If you're looking to read about a post-apocalyptic world, a dystopia, with the disaster having been brought on by aliens, should you read this book? Hi, I'm Maria from Read Fine Books, and today we are talking about When the Dust Fell by Marshall Ross. This is a book that surprised me in many ways, not all of them good. So, what's this book about? Sarah Long is a geologist. She was scanning the Mariana Trench when she stumbles upon an alien ship. She doesn't know it's an alien ship, but when sending a probe to it, the ship comes to life, and that leads to the whole world changing. That happened 3 years ago in the book, and since then she had been living on the ship with her alien boyfriend Trin. She had been studying the alien language and the alien ship. When we get to know Sarah, she is leaving the ship because she received a message from her sister, whom she didn't know anything about for the last 3 years. She leaves the ship without telling Trin, her boyfriend, without telling anyone, and sets off on a journey from Russia, where the ship had landed, to Ohio in the United States. Of course, being the apocalypse and all for the world as we know it, everything is changed. So the journey has multiple events she goes through, and the most important part, she gets to meet the mayor of New York, who is now a king, self-proclaimed one, and he has his own plans for Sarah, as Sarah was in fact the only human having contact with the aliens. And you have to read the book to see how everything turns out with the mayor of New York and Sarah and her love with Trin. I was very enthusiastic about the book when I started it because, of course, the subject is very interesting. We have the apocalypse, we have aliens, what's there not to love? These are all premises that can set up wonderful scenes and deep conversations. Again, I was very enthusiastic. However, it did not live up to my expectations. To be fair, I do have a lot of expectations when it comes to apocalypse books, because they do have a set where everything is possible, where the human being should be brought to her limits. Usually apocalypse books discuss a lot about morality, because when the social contract ends, freedom tends to bother some people. But with this book, the enthusiasm soon died because Sarah makes some inexplicable decisions. As I said, she was having a great life on the alien ship. However, when messages from her sister come to her, and they come through obscure mediums, such as people who don't recall having this kind of conversations with her, when this happens, when the messages get through to her, she immediately decides to leave the ship, leave the comfort, and go out into a world she literally doesn't know anything about, because everything had been changed in the last 3 years. This is not a normal decision a person would do in her situation, and that bugged me a lot. It made her to be very disagreeable. However, We have a more interesting character, and that is the mayor of New York, who, now king, rules by fear. He has made New York livable. People tend to respect that, but his aspirations are limitless power for himself, of course, and that makes him the perfect villain, and it also makes for interesting conversations when he finally meets Sarah. We have Sarah that makes a completely unreasonable decision to leave the comfort of a ship. We have the alien ship, which, after having destroyed half of the world, just sits there and doesn't contact any government. The aliens only talk with Sarah, and Sarah was just a random geologist on her work day, so that again is completely unreasonable. The aliens agree there is no point in killing anyone, but they don't do anything more. They just sit there for 3 years waiting for Sarah to learn about them, waiting to make a decision. I really don't get that at all. A thing that did surprise me pleasantly was the setting of the ship in Russia. Usually, everything happens in the US, and I love a book that is outside of US, even if for just a little, because we also witness Sarah's journey through Europe, through a post-apocalyptic Europe, and again, that was wonderful. The book also talked about Putin, so it gave me the illusion this is something that will happen very soon, during my lifetime even. So I appreciated that. It put me in a good mood. Even though for a post-apocalyptic novel it was kind of sluggishly paced, I also didn't connect with the characters at all. They seemed just that, characters. They weren't real people for me, and that made a huge difference in me liking or disliking this book. I view it as very plot driven, but with a bad plot, and that is not a good combination. Writing was fine. I appreciated how smooth the transitions were from Sarah's journey to her memories on the ship, because the story presents what happens on the ship and what happens in the outside world as two distinct storylines. However, it didn't hit all the good stuff, all the deep stuff I expect from this genre, but it did try. There were conversations about God and our origins as a species. However, they were not impressive at all. Not from my point of view. All in all, I didn't enjoy this book very much because it didn't hit all the good stuff I appreciate about apocalyptic literature. It did try, however. It has some very interesting conversations and ideas it puts forward about our origins as a species, especially because the aliens have a godlike figure as well. So I did quite enjoy those parts of the book. They make for an interesting premise, but what I didn't felt it was enough. The conversation didn't went too deep into them. It was a bit disappointing. I would have wanted more from this book in any way. More deep conversations, more deep ideas about the world that had changed, the new world, Is it better? Is it worse? There were some interesting conversations, but not nearly enough. So, if you want to give it a try, this book comes out soon. You can check out the link in the description to Goodreads and Amazon. Can't say I recommend it because I do expect more from post-apocalyptic literature, especially since I read a lot of it. But I'm sure you find something to enjoy in this book. I'm Maria from Read Fine Books. Thank you for watching.